Okay guys, hi, welcome to the YouTube channel. My name is Mithilesh. I'm a two-time Indian coffee champion and I'm also a coffee curator and I run a coffee company called Cardo 7 Coffee Roasters. So today we're going to talk about profile roasting. This is take 2 on profile roasting. So roasting profile, we're going to explain it to you with the help of a graph and going to keep it super simple. So anybody who wants to start roasting or get into roasting or who has already been roasting for a while and wants to go back to the basics, this video is for you guys. So please don't forget to hit subscribe, like and share this channel. Okay, so in this video what you're going to learn is you are going to first of all start understanding what a roasting graph is, what roast profile is about, and also how do you log your roast profile. Alright, so this is for the people who, as I said earlier, who want to get into coffee or probably who are roasting at home and have started roasting at a larger scale also, but also want to get back to the basics and get better at it. So let's begin now. So first of all, the roasting graph, all you have to do is take a piece of paper and draw this. This is your x-axis, this is your y-axis. Now here's what happens. So first of all, you got to write the temperatures here. So let's start writing 230, 220. This is in degrees Celsius and so forth. So this is not 0 exactly, but you can just write down this much. And at the same time, this is your degrees Celsius and this is your time. So this is minute 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now you got to remember one thing, that in roasting coffee, a few parameters, basic parameters are important. One is the time and second is the temperature. Just these two parameters you just have to remember. Forget about the drum speed, forget about the variable drum speed and airflow and all those things. Let's just keep it very simple. Now what happens is, like, your green beans usually are at the room temperature and you have to preheat your drum. A recommended formula of preheating your drum is, if it is a 5 kg roaster, what you do is you can keep your roaster on at max for 20 minutes, then let it reach a temperature of 220 degrees Celsius, then you reduce the gas, let it simmer at 200 degrees Celsius, and then drop it down to 190 degrees Celsius, and then you start roasting. Alright, so that's for a 5 kg, not an exact protocol but a rough one. So now what happens is, like, your green beans are at room temperature and you're dropping that in the roaster. The drum is super hot. So let's say we've got a 5 kg roaster. We will be using only 4.5 kg of the green beans, which will give you an output of approximately 3.8 to 4 kg of roasted beans. Alright, now let's begin roasting. As I said, it's a simple basic one. I took the coffee, I've preheated my drum, I've done everything, and now I have dumped the coffee 4.5 kgs inside the roaster. I want to, like, not preferably, but let's say I dropped it at 210 degrees Celsius. So your charge temperature, charge temp, is 210. And my targeted drop temperature, drop is basically when I pull out the beans from roasting, I stop the roasting. Your drop temperature is approximately, say, 220 degrees Celsius. Alright, now here is where it is gonna get plotted. So at 0 time, here is where I get plotted. And now since the green beans are cold and the drum is hot, there will be a drastic temperature drop for a minute and a half approximately. Your gas is at 100 setting, full capacity, and this is not a profile that I'm asking you to do. This is just making you understand what all these numbers are about. So I dropped at 210 degrees Celsius, then I saw at 1 minute the temperature dropped down to 160 degrees Celsius. Alright, so I'll plot over here. At 2 minutes the temperature now is at around 140 degrees Celsius, and at 3 minutes I start seeing that the temperature has again climbed up to 130 degrees Celsius. So it started climbing up. So here is your graph that is getting started to plot. At 4th minute, my temperature reaches 100 and, I'm sorry, this is 150. So not 130, 150. But at 4th minute, my temperature will now start climbing at 160 degrees Celsius. And then at 5th minute, my temperature will keep going up. So the temperature always goes up, but there's another phenomena that comes into play, that is the ROR. ROR is nothing but a rate of rise. In many softwares, in many roasting profiles or roasting softwares, you will see ROR 15 or 30, which means it is showing that at what rate is the temperature rising every 15 seconds. Before that, let's just understand something, which is the phases of roasting of coffee. All right, the first phase is basically just before the turning point. Turning point is a state where your ROR starts climbing up. Now, ROR is nothing but by what temperature is the graph or the temperature is going to be rising in every 15 seconds. So my ROR starts shooting up once I've reached the lowest temperature of the drum after putting out the green beans, because after that the green beans are started to getting hotter. So there's a lot of reaction happening. There's endothermic reaction earlier, and then later on we'll go through the exothermic reactions. But now I dropped the green beans which are at room temperature and the drum was hot. But after a point of time, the green beans will start catching the temperature, and the entire temperature of the drum and the beans will go up. So let's assume it is at 1 minute 30 seconds that your temperature starts increasing, and it is increasing by, say, it goes like this and comes down like this. Alright, so basically what this curve says is that the rate of rise, if it is say 15 seconds we are calculating, will start climbing up. So here, if I want to read the rate of rise, it will be, so there will be some markings over here. Different profiles have different graphs, different everything. There will be a rate of rise curve which is, say, I'm just adding it over here, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, and this is 0. So here at 1.5 minutes, the rate of rise, that is at after every 15 seconds, 2 degree temperature is going to rise. All right, that means in 1 minute there's going to be 4 into 8 degrees Celsius the temperature is going to rise. But you start monitoring that when the rate of rise is at the max. So here it says that every 15 seconds the temperature is going to rise by 10 degrees Celsius. That means every 1 minute it's going to be 40 degrees Celsius. But the ROR has to be a declining curve. This is a very important phenomena. It cannot be a straight line. You're basically over roasting your coffee. Remember, always your ROR curve has to go down and should be a nice slope, elegant. There should not be any, your graph should not look like this. This is a crash. If your graph looks like this is a flick. We'll go into the depth of crash and flick later on, how it affects the taste and everything. But right now you got to remember that your graph should be nice declining sloping curve. So the first phase, as we say, is kind of a drying phase, which I'm not really fond of. But let's just call it a drying phase. Here the beans are primarily gradually getting towards the temperature of the drum. Alright, let's just keep it at that. The second phase is somewhere over here. Alright, this is one of the most important phases. It's called the Maillard reaction phase. Here is where you can actually manipulate the taste of the coffee. Be it you want more sweetness, do you want more acidity? So we'll go into the depth of it again later on. This is just an example or a baseline. So Maillard reactions, they are super important to be monitored, and you'll observe that once you start roasting on these parameters, the coffee starts changing the maximum once you kind of have a control in this region. All right. The third phase is post first crack. The third phase is about the first crack. First crack, I'll just explain what first crack is about. Now, this is basically exothermic reaction that happens. Exo, and here is the endo basically. Now, what happens is that once the coffee beans start roasting, they're small in shape or size, and they start swelling up gradually. All right. At the first crack mark, usually in this example, the first crack would be somewhere between 197 degrees Celsius to approximately 203 degrees Celsius. This is just rough, all right? There's no ballpark or target or anything. There will be some moisture content inside the bean which will try to escape from the weakest part of the bean, and you'll hear a small pop, like a popcorn kernel getting popped. These thousands of beans inside the drum create lot of sound, which is like a popping sound. At the same time, there's colder air being released inside the drum, because of which the temperature is going to start falling down. Right, the rate of rise, my bad, the rate of rise will start falling down. The temperature will keep increasing. Once you start roasting, the roasting temperature will not go to 210 and then come back. If that is happening, then that's a disaster. If your temperature is staying at 210 degrees Celsius for a long period of time, that's called stalling. You don't want that as well. You'll get baked coffee. So once the beans start popping out and releasing these gases trapped inside, there'll be cracking sound, and that's your first crack. Once you start marking your first crack properly, you'll kind of understand development time ratio. Now, development time ratio, I'll write it down. Development time ratio is something which is not to be taken as 20% development time ratio is a good one or 5% is a good one. That's nothing to do with that. But it gives you kind of a ballpark figure or understanding as to how long has the coffee been inside the drum after the first crack, right? So yeah, so the first crack is there, and now the temperature will start falling. You remember I had said that there shouldn't be a crash. Usually you will see there will be a lot of crash after the first crack, and you will try to increase the gas. My suggestion is don't increase the gas. Try to control everything before the first crack. Okay, this is getting a little too heavy. Both heavy ho raha hai. But anyway, once your first crack is done and your desired development time ratio is achieved, all you have to do is you just pull the drum. That is, your drop temperature will be 220 degrees Celsius. You pull it out, and that's your coffee. So this is a basic of coffee roasting. What is drying phase, what is Maillard reaction, what is first crack, flick, crash and all, we'll talk about it in the subsequent videos. So yeah, please share, like and ask as many questions as possible in the comment section below. Cheers.